Very good afternoon to one and all. Once again, I would like to welcome you all for the next lecture of Production Operation Management. In this lecture, we are going to discuss the last evaluation criteria of investment, that is internal rate of return and the replacement analysis. Okay, these 2 points are remaining from this chapter, and then we will discuss about the next chapter in the next lecture. Okay, so yesterday we have discussed the two important evaluation criteria, that is nothing but BCR and capital rationing. In a BCR, once again we have discussed the profitability index and the what is meant by capital rationing, and what we can, by using that particular values of BCR, how we can analyze the project. Okay, how we can differentiate the project, that we have learned in the last lecture. So in the today's lecture, we'll start with the internal rate of return. In simple language, it is called as IRR. Okay, internal rate of return, or it is called as a IRR. Okay, now this IRR will showcase the profitability of a potential investment which will happen you or which will be happen to you in the future. Okay, now this IRR is one kind of a discounted rate. Okay, is one kind of a discounted rate. So we have discussed this discounted rate in NPV, net present value. Okay, so we have to divide by the discounted rate, or we have to add up the discounted rate in upcoming or in future incomes. Okay, and by doing that, we are countering the risk, we are countering the inflation and interest rates of banks. Okay, and in while calculating the NPVs, this internal or this discounted rates are provided to you, and you have to calculate the NPV value. By using the same formula of a NPV, you can also calculate the internal rate of return. Okay, you can also calculate the internal rate of return, so which will showcase the profitability of a potential investment. Okay, so here in this calculation of a IRR, that is internal rate of return, you can use the NPV formula. Okay, NPV formula. So what it can showcase? So if the internal rate of a return will be higher one, then that particular investment will be the more desirable investment, or you can say that you will get the more profit from that investment. Okay, you'll get the more profit from that particular investment, and actually by doing that, you are also countering the time value of a money. Okay, you are also countering the time value of a money, so that will be considered as a maximum return. Okay, when NPV, if you are considering now for the calculation purpose of an internal rate of return, first of all you have to consider NPV is equal to 0. Okay, net present value is equal to 0, and then you can go for the calculation of an internal rate of returns. Okay, then you can go for the internal rate of return. So the internal rate of return is a metric used in a financial analysis to estimate the profitability of a potential investment. The internal rate of return is a discount rate that makes the net present value, that is nothing but NPV, of all cash flows equal to 0 in discounted cash flow analysis. So IRR calculations rely on the same formula as NPV. Generally speaking, the higher an internal rate of return, the more desirable an investment is to undertake. Okay, so that if you are getting the maximum internal return while comparing the two businesses, then that particular business which is having higher internal rate of return, that should be undertaken for the or that should be accepted. Okay, so here the formula we are using to calculate the NPV, the same formula you have to use, but you have to consider the NPV of all the cash flows as equal to the 0. Okay, as equal to the 0, and then only it will be possible to calculate the IRR. Okay, so Now this thing of a calculation that will be somewhat heavier, because you don't have the idea at which value you are getting NPV is equal to 0. If you consider the IR value is 10%, okay, and then whether it is equal to you are getting NPV is equal to 0 or not. So you have to fluctuate, or you have to vary the IR value, okay, in the calculation, and you have to check up that whether you are getting NPV value is equal to 0 or not. At what value you are getting NPV is equal to 0 by trial and error method, that will be considered as your NPV, or that will be considered as your internal rate of return. That will be considered as your internal rate of return. Now here you can see that the NPV formula, we know that FV naught divided by 1 plus I raised to 0. So here, instead of R or I, whatever you can consider, in a previous NPV formula, we have considered here as a R. Okay, that is nothing but discounted rate. So instead of that R, we are changed to the IRR. Okay, that is internal rate of return. Now this will be considered as a discounted rate. Now IRR will be considered as a discounted rate, and other values or other things are as it is. Okay, FU naught will be considered as a future value of an investment for the year of a, or for the benchmark year. Then for the first year, future value FU1, FU2, FU3, FU4, and here the time periods are as like that T0, T1, T2. So instead of that, we can directly take it as a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 up to N. Okay, so what is the change here? We are considering the NPV. We are considering that NPV is equal to 0. Okay, net present value for all future payments, that equal to 0. And then if we are considering this thing, then and then only we are able to calculate this IRR. Okay, because if you will not consider this equal to 0, then we are not able to calculate this value, because in this particular formula there will be two variables, and we from single equation we will not calculate the values of two variables. So one of the value we have to know. So for that purpose, NPV value, we know that it is equal to 0. Okay, it is equal to 0, and then we are calculating IRR. Okay, now here for the calculation purpose of IRR, we don't have a basic plan. Okay, initially we don't know which value we are getting. So for that reason, we are doing calculation for the NPVs. Okay, and for that purpose, you can consider any percentage value. Let us say 10% value, or 15% IR, or 20%. Okay, so what value you are getting? So on that basis, you can use the trial and error method for the calculation of IR. Let us say for the 10% calculation, you will get the NPV is equal to 100. For 20% calculation, you got NPV is equal to minus 100. Okay, you got the NPV is equal to minus 100 for 20% calculation, 20% IR calculation. So in that case, you come to know that the zero value, or the IR becomes 0 in between 10% to 20%. Then you take the 15% IR value, then check that whether it is near to 0 or not. Okay, so in this manner you have to reach the NPV is equal to 0. Okay, and at what IR value you got NPV is equal to 0, that will be your accurate IR value for that particular business. So here, to calculate IR using the formula, one would set NPV equal to 0 and solve for the discount rate, which is the IR, that is nothing but internal rate of return. Getting my point? So what are the advantages? First of all, we know that it takes into account the time value of money that will should be considered for the future payments. Then it will consider the entire cash flow of that particular project. So that is also a benefit. And those are having the sense of IR, that is internal rate of return. So that businessman would have the great sense of a business. Okay, so it makes sense to businessmen who are talking in terms of a internal rate of return. Okay, so how to do the calculation? So there are three methods for performing this calculation. One is nothing but iterative or by pen paper option with you, by doing the iterative method, by changing the IR value and calculating the NPV, whether it is equal to 0 or not. If not, then you can go for the next value. So this is one method. Then the another method is nothing but everyone knows the Excel. So in each and every laptop and the PCs, this software is available. That is nothing but Excel software, which is freely available. And this software will be considered as the best software for the finance. Okay, so all the finance is accommodated in Excel software. So when you get the time, you can practice on the Excel also. So here in Excel, there is one function called as a XIR. Okay, XIRR. So by putting your values and by calling this particular function, you can easily calculate the internal rate of return for the given values. Okay, and on a financial calculators, there are some financial calculator. We know the engineering calculators, the normal calculators, and there are some financial calculators are also there. So in that also, this IR function is available in that financial calculator. So by using that financial calculator also, you can calculate this internal rate of return. Okay, by using that calculator also, you can calculate the internal rate of return. So here is one example. Compute the internal rate of return for a project given below with following cash flows. Okay, so cash flows are given for the first year, it is in a negative. Okay, then for the second year, third year, fourth year, it is in positive. Okay, for the 0th year, or we can consider for the benchmark year, it will be considered as a negative, because for that particular year we are doing the investment in the business, and by doing the investment you are getting the cash flow from that particular business. Okay, so 1 lakh rupees are invested in the business for the benchmark year, and for the first year 30,000 you have received, then for the second year 30,000 you have received, for the third year 40,000, and for the fourth year you have received 45,000 rupees. So in this manner the cash flow is provided to you. Okay, so write down the example, compute the internal rate of return, or okay, it's okay, I will first of all explain this thing and then you can do the write-up part. Okay, so now here the internal rate of returns are provided, or we can say that the cash flows are provided, and we have to calculate the internal rate of return. So simply we have to use the Npv formula. First of all, we have to use the Npv formula. So Npv formula, that is nothing but Npv is equal to Fv naught divided by 1 plus R naught t raised to 0 plus Fv1 divided by 1 plus R1 bracket raised to T1 plus Fv2 divided by 1 plus R2 bracket raised to T2 up to Fb suffix n whole divided by 1 plus R suffix n bracket raised to T suffix n, where this Fv0, Fv1, Fv2, F up to Fv suffix n. So these are the cash flows, or the future values of the cash flows, and R0, R1, R2, R up to Rn are nothing but the discounted rates. Okay, and T0, T1, T2 and up to Tn are nothing but the number of periods. Okay, so that will be considered as a 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now here we know the future cash flows in the companies. Okay, we know time periods, but we don't know the internal rate of return. So initially you have to put up what you know. Okay, that is nothing but given data. So for the first year or the benchmark year, your cash flow is negative. On that particular year you have done the investment, so 1 lakh rupees you have investment. Then for the second year you got 30,000 cash flow, or the benefit from that, or you can say the profit. Then next year you got the 30,000 rupees, then for the next year 40,000 rupees, then for the next year 45,000 rupees. So cash flows are considered, and the periods, that is nothing but T values are known. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in this manner we have to put up the values that you know from the given data. Okay, so next, now here two unknowns are there, that is nothing but one is nothing but NPV and the second is nothing but IRR. Okay, so now consider the value of IRR. Okay, any value you can consider. So let us consider you have taken the IR value as a 10%. Okay, so by using the trial and error method, we have to equate the equation equal to 0. That is nothing but you should got the NPV value is equal to 0. Now consider any value of IRR that and then do the calculation. So first of all, we have considered the internal rate of return for the business equal to 10%. Okay, and we have to put up this IR here. Okay, 10% means what? 10 divided by 100. Okay, so that will be equal to 0.1. So after putting everywhere where the IR is there, so at that place we have to put up the 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and we have to perform the calculation. Okay, so here in this case I got NPV is equal to 12,854.31. Okay, so it is not equal to 0. Now we have to consider the another value. Okay, then we have considered the another value of IR equal to 15%. Then put up that 0.15 everywhere. Okay, 0.15 everywhere where the IR is present in the equation. Okay, and after doing the calculation, I got NPV is equal to 800.811. Okay, so which is closer to 0. Okay, as compared to the previous value. Then we can go for the next value. Okay, so let us consider the 16%. Okay, so guess. Okay, so if you consider the 16% IR value, so in that case, what value you got, that need to check. Okay, so by considering the 16% of IR, you got the NPV is equal to minus 1,363.63. Okay, 1,363.63. Now here, what you understood from these particular values, when you consider the 10%, NPV is far away from the 0. Okay, so we got 12,854.31. So then we have considered the 15% NPV. So in that case, you got the value which is somewhat closer to the 0%. So from that point, we think that now we will got the NPV for the nearest values of 15%. So then we consider the NPV or IR value equal to 16%, but it is in a negative. We got the NPV in a negative. Okay, so what it suggests, so whatever your business NPV, it should be in between 15 and 16%. It should be whatever your business is there, that business internal rate of return should be in between 15% and 16%, because in for these two values you are passing through 0. Okay, for these two values you are passing through 0 from 800 to minus 1,363. So in between 15% and 16%, one value is there. For that value you should got the NPV value equal to 0. For that value you should got the NPV value should be equal to 0. Okay, so value is in between 15% to 16%. So you can take further calculations also. You can consider 15.5%. Okay, and check whether you got that particular NPV is equal to 0 or not. Okay, now this is one way to perform the calculation. There is one another way. Okay, I will showcase you. There is one another way how one can calculate the things. Okay, so first of all, this is the Excel sheet. Okay, this is the Excel sheet. So in this Excel sheet, you have to fill your values. Okay, initially you have to fill the values, okay, in each column. So let us consider for first month, it is 1 lakh, okay, minus 1 lakh. And for first year, it is minus 1 lakh. For second year, it is plus 30,000, right? 30,000. Then for second year also, it is equal to 30,000, right? Then for, I will make it zoom somewhat zoom. Okay, now it is visible. Okay, so for the second year also, I have considered the 30,000. So whatever our values are there, then 40,000 and 45,000. Okay, 40,000 and 45,000. Okay, so now for the second column, you can put the dates. Okay, here we can say that the cash flow. Okay, I will give the heading for this particular column as cash flow. Okay, and here I will give the dates. So on which date you received that particular benefit. Okay, so let take any date. Okay, consider 1/1/2015. So in 2015 you have started this business, and on the first date of Jan of 2015 you have made the investment of 1 lakh rupees. Then for the second year, next year, so that will be considered as 01/01/2016. Okay, third will be considered as 01/01/2017. Then fourth 01/01/2018. Then next 01/01/2019. Okay, so the dates on which you got that benefit or you got that particular cash flow, that you need to consider. Now here you have to call for the next column, any column or any cell you can take up, no issue for the Excel. Okay, let us consider in that particular cell, you have to call the function. Okay, which function? For the calculation of internal rate of return, which function we required? That function name is XIR. Okay, so it is already suggested here, that is nothing but XIR or XNPV. So I have to calculate the XIRR. Okay, so then you have to provide the bracket. Okay, now here it is suggested that first select the values. Okay, select the values. So all the values, cash flow values, we need to select. Okay, all the cash flow values we need to select. Then after selecting the values, you have to provide the comma. Okay, it is already suggested over here at the bottom side. Then that suggestion shows that you have the next after comma, you have to select the dates. Okay, you have to select the dates. Then afterward you have to select all the dates. Okay, then you can close up this bracket. Okay, or you can write the guess also. So I will close this bracket. So I did not want to guess the XIR value, but uh, that should be calculated by this function. So for that purpose, I will close this. I would like to close this particular bracket. Okay, so I will close this bracket and enter. Okay, so directly I got the value. Okay, directly I got the value. So that value should be 0.15353. Okay, by using the iteration method, okay, or trial and error method, we reach up to what? We reach up to the thing that we come to know that that value should be in between 15 to 16%. We need to perform more calculation to reach actual internal rate of return. But by using it is very much simple. Okay, it is very much simple. By calling the XIR function, you can easily calculate the internal rate of return for the business. So it is that much simple in the Excel. So all the financial calculations you can perform in the Excel. Okay, all the financial calculation you can perform in the Excel. So it is so much easy. So if you learn the things, then you'll play with it. Okay, so I will showcase 1-2 examples. Okay, so 11 32.66. I want to do the calculation, or let us, no, this is the column. 11, 25, 30, 45. Okay. So I want to write the summation at the bottom side. So I will say call sum function. Okay. And for which numbers you want to perform this summation, that should be selected over here. Okay, I have selected all the numbers and I've completed this bracket, entered. So you'll got directly summation of this all the numbers. Okay, so there are number of functions available in the Excel, so that will make the calculation very easily. So, and most of the engineering work and the financial work is performed in a Excel. So whatever the problems are there, your problems are there. Let us say here 22 is. Okay, here is for this. Okay, 22, 30. Okay, I want to perform calculation for this. I want 11 multiplied by 20. So equal to, I will select this row, multiply by 22, enter, 242. Okay, easily calculated. Okay, and if you want to provide this 30, 45, 50 for all, for next values, so it will automatically perform the calculation. So that much easy. So you can learn these things by using the YouTube channels also. Simple Excel channels are there, okay, for the understanding of Excel functions, and you can perform any calculation within a fraction of a second by using the Excel. Okay, so I want to showcase one thing, that there is one function in the Excel which can do the calculation of internal rate of return. Okay, which can do the calculation of NAV, which can do the calculation for benefit cost ratio, which can do the calculation for payback period. Okay, so everything is easy in the Excel if you use, and by handy this calculation for XI are somewhat difficult. Okay, it is somewhat difficult, and you have to do the calculation by using the iterative method, and then you will get the final answer. Okay. Okay, is there any question, any doubt in this? Whether you understood what is meant by IRR, internal rate of return? Is there any doubt, any question? If not, kindly note down the heading, internal rate of return, internal rate of return, in bracket, capital I, capital R, capital R, IRR, internal rate of return. Write down the first point, the internal rate of return, the internal rate of return is a metric. The internal rate of return is a metric internal rate of return is a metric used in financial analysis, used in financial analysis to estimate to estimate to estimate the profitability of potential investment, to estimate the profitability of potential investment, the profitability of potential investment. Second point, the internal rate of return, or you can write IRR, is a discount rate, is a discount rate that makes the net present value, that makes the net present value in bracket NPV, that makes the net present value in bracket NPV of all cash flows, equal to zero, in a discounted cash flow analysis, in a discounted cash flow analysis. In a discounted cash flow analysis. The next point, IRR calculation, IRR calculations rely on the same formula, as NPV does, Next point, generally speaking, comma, the higher an internal rate of return, generally speaking, the higher an internal rate of return, the more desirable an investment, is to undertake, full stop. Next point, to calculate IRR, using the formula, one would set NPV equal to 0. Calculate IRR using the formula, one would set NPV equal to 0, and solve for the discount rate, comma, which is the IRR, full stop. Next point, however, because of the nature of the formula, IRR cannot be easily calculated, analytically, and therefore must instead be calculated either through instead be calculated either through trial and error, or by using software programmed to calculate internal rate of return or IRR, to calculate internal rate of return or IRR. Okay, so formula you can write: 0 is equal to NPV, 0 is equal to NPV is equal to FV naught divided by 1 plus IRR raised to T1, or 0 you can T0 you can write, or directly if you consider it as a 0th period, then you can write the 0 directly there. So 1 plus IRR raised to 0 plus FV1 divided by 1 plus IRR raised to 1 plus FV2 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket square plus FV3 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to cube plus FV4 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to 4 up to that is nothing but dot up to FVN whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to n over. So what are the advantages of internal rate of return? The first advantage is it takes into account the time value of money. Second, it considers entire cash flow. Then third one, it makes sense to businessmen who are talking in terms of internal rate of return. It makes sense to businessmen who are talking in terms of IRR. Okay, or calculating the internal rate of return. Calculating the internal rate of return. It can be done in 3 ways. Calculating the internal rate of return, that you can write. It can be done in 3 ways. First is using an iterative process. Where the analyst tries different discount rates. Using the iterative process where the analyst tries different discount rates until the NPV equals to 0. Second one method is using the IRR or XIRR function using the IRR or XIRR function in Excel or other spreadsheet programs The last calculation method is financial calculator, using the financial calculator. Or okay, take the example. Okay, for the understanding purpose, example is important one. So write down one example. Compute the internal rate of return. Compute the internal rate of return. Compute the internal rate of return in bracket capital I, capital R, capital R. Compute the internal rate of return for a project given below with following cash flows. Given below with following cash flows. Okay. So data is provided in years, and for the particular year, the cash flow for that project. So here, make two rows, year and cash flow. For the 0th year, cash flow is in negative. So negative 1 lakh. For the first year, cash flow is 30,000. For the first year, cash flow is 30,000. For the second year, cash flow once again 30,000. For the third year, cash flow is 40,000. And for the fourth year, cash flow is 45,000. For the fourth year, cash flow is 45,000. Okay. So by trial and error method, we try to determine the internal rate of return. So for that purpose, we have to use the formula of net present value. So NPV, write down solution. NPV is equal to FV naught whole divided by 1 plus R naught raised to T naught plus FV1 whole divided by 1 plus R1 raised to T1 plus FV2 whole divided by 1 plus R2 raised to T2 up to FVN whole divided by 1 plus R suffix n bracket complete raised to T suffix n. We have to modify this formula for our internal rate of return. Okay, to calculate the internal rate of return. So discounted rate R naught will be converted into IRR. Okay, that is internal rate of return. Okay, so therefore our modified formula, write down modified formula. One minute. Whether my screen is visible to everyone? Okay, so write down modified formula. NPV is equal to NPV is equal to FV naught whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to 0 plus FV1 divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to 1 plus FV2 whole divided by 1 plus IR bracket raised to 2 plus FV3 whole divided by 1 plus IR bracket raised to 3, and the last here is FV4 whole divided by 1 plus IR bracket raised to 4. Okay, so next put up the values that you known. So FV values are known, that is future values are known. So put up that values in the equation. So we will get the equation as NPV is equal to minus 1 lakh whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to 0 plus 30,000 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to 1 plus 30,000 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket square plus 40,000 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket cube plus 45,000 whole divided by 1 plus IRR bracket raised to 4. Okay. Then we have to guess any value. Okay, guess anything. Here I have done the 10%. You can consider the 9%, 20% also, no issue. Okay. So trial and error method for IRR, so that NPV is equal to 0. You can consider any value. Okay. So I have considered the 10%. Initially, I don't know which value need to consider. So you can consider 50% also. You can consider 80% also. But you have to change the value if you will not get NPV is equal to 0. Okay. So here I have considered the 10%. So actually it will be 10 divided by 100. So that will be equal to 0.1. Okay. So put up the internal rate of return, guess the internal rate of return values in this formula. Okay. So write down NPV is equal to minus 1 lakh whole divided by 1 plus 0.1 raised to 0, then plus 30,000 whole divided by 1 plus 0.1 raised to 1, then 30,000 whole divided by 1 plus 0.1 raised to 2, then 40,000 whole divided by 1 plus 0.1 raised to 3, then 45,000 whole divided by 1 plus 0.1 raised to 4. So what value you are getting? Do calculation if you have calculator, and you will get the value near about this. Okay, NPV is equal to 12,854.31. Okay. So here also in this, at this particular stage, we don't know whether we have to increase the value or we have to decrease the value of a NPV. So obviously we have to increase the value of a NPV, because we have to increase the value of internal rate of return, because if you increase the value of a internal rate of return, then only this total value will goes on decreasing. Why? Because this internal rate of return value is at the denominator side. Okay, it is at the denominator side. So when the denominator increased, at that time the total valuation will get decreased. Okay, denominator बढ़ गया तो total value क्या होगी? कम होती जाएगी. Okay, so here we will come to know that we have to reach to 0. Okay, and we got this particular value. So here we come to know that we have to increase the internal rate of return value so that we can reach to NPV is equal to 0. Okay, getting my point? Okay, so this is also logical thing, so that we need to understand. Okay, then further, once you get the value, now you come to know that we have to increase the internal rate of return value, so that our guess to in guess 2 we have considered internal rate of return value as 15%. Okay, as 15%. Okay, guess as a 15%. Now here internal rate of return value is 15%. So consider the 15% and calculate the NPV. Calculate the NPV. So NPV is equal to minus 1 lakh whole divided by 1 plus 0.15 bracket raised to 0, then plus 30,000 divided by 1 plus 15 over 1 plus 0.15 bracket raised to 1, then plus 30,000 1 plus 0.15 bracket square, then plus 40,000 divided by 1 plus 0.15 bracket cube, and the last one 45,000 whole divided by 1 plus 0.15 bracket raised to 4. Okay, so after doing the addition or summation of all these futuristic values or the future incomes, discounted future incomes, you'll reach the NPV is equal to 800. Okay, 800.811. Now here what you need to understand, okay, while doing the calculation, when we increase the NPV from 10% to the 15%, only by 5%, but the NPV value, okay, when we increase the IRR from 10% to 15%, okay, IRR 10% to 15%, our NPV decreased from 12,000, 12K, I will write here 12K to 800, 12K to 800. Okay, so now you should be conscious about selecting the next internal rate of return value. Okay, you should be conscious about while selecting the next internal rate of return value, so that our calculations should be minimized. Our calculations should be minimized. Okay, so 5% से हमने discounted rate और internal rate of return आई, तो यहाँ पर NPV 12 should select next NPV near to the 15%. Okay, so here you can make a sense that you can select the 15.5 also, no problem, 15.5 also. Okay, so whatever your guess is there, but I'm not sure, so that I will go for the 16%. Okay, I will go for the 16%. So here it's your choice that you can go for 15.5 on your logic basis, you can go for 15.5, or you can directly go for 15.3 also, no problem. Okay, no problem for that. Okay, so next value you can consider 15.3 also, no issue. Okay, this is the guesswork. We are trying to reach to NPV equal to 0 by considering the guess of internal rate of return. Okay, so here I have considered the 16%. You can consider 15.5 or 15.6 or directly 15.3. Okay, and then you have to calculate the NPV. So here I have considered the 16%. So do calculation for the 16% or do calculation for 15.5, or you can do calculation by 15.3 also. Okay, 15.3 also. So here my guess 3 is internal rate of return is equal to 16%, and I have done the calculation for that. NPV is equal to minus 1 lakh divided by 1 plus 0.16 raised to 0 plus 30,000 divided by 1 plus 0.16 raised to 1 plus 30,000 divided by 1 plus 0.16 bracket square plus 40,000 divided by 1 plus 0.16 bracket cube plus 45,000 divided by 1 plus 0.16 bracket raised to 4. Okay, and I will get the value of NPV is equal to minus 1,363. Okay, now here also your logic should be applied that from 15 to 16% NPV changed from 800 to minus 13.63. Okay, पॉजिटिव से निगेटिव हो गया. ओके, 15% को आपको पॉजिटिव एनपीवी मिल रहा था, यहाँ पर 16% को आपको निगेटिव एनपीवी मिल रहा है। ओके, सो जीरो इन बिटवीन ही रहेगा। ओके, पॉजिटिव और निगेटिव के बीच में जीरो रहता है, सो जीरो हमें इन बिटवीन ही मिल जाएगा, 15 और 16% के बीच में ही मिल जाएगा। सो योर गेस, नेक्स्ट गेस शुड बी in between 15 and 16%. Okay, in between 15 and 16%. Getting my point? Your next guess should be 15 and in between 15 and 16%. Getting my point? Okay, in this manner you can calculate the NPV values. So you maybe put up in this manner, or if you got the answer by using Excel, what answer we got? We got 0.15. That is nothing but 15.35%. 15.35%. Actual answer is 15.35%. So here I will write 15. You can check for this also. 15.35%. Okay, 15.35%. Okay, this is the final answer. Okay, so this method is too much heavy method, or we can say that heavy calculation we need to perform by using the analysis. Okay, but it is too much easy by using the Excel or financial calculators. Okay, so you can write the disadvantages. The first point is it is cumbersome in calculation. Cumbersome means absurd calculation, heavy calculations are there. It is cumbersome in calculation. Then next one, IRR is only a figure. IRR is only a figure reflecting the rate of return, or the efficiency in the use of capital, The last one, it does not give an absolute value of the benefits. It does not give an absolute value of the benefits or net income generated by the project. It does not give an absolute value of the benefits or net income generated by the project. Okay, so that's it about this particular IRR, that is internal rate of returns, and we have covered maximum evaluation criteria. Okay, now the last point is replacement analysis. Okay, so replacement analysis, actually it does not require one extra lecture because I'm combining these two divisions. So I will give you the general information about the replacement analysis. Just 5 to 10 minutes extra required for that purpose. Okay, so once again for the next day I have to combine the two divisions. So can I proceed for the 10 minutes extra? You can reply yes or no. Should I go for 10 minutes extra? Anyone? Or should I stop? So afterward, it will not be covered up. Okay. So the last point is remaining, that is nothing but replacement. Replacement means कुछ कंपनी से निकाल कर कुछ कंपनी में नया लेकर आना. So that is nothing but a replacement. Okay. We know that when we purchase the new component, okay, or new product, it will function properly for some period of time, and its functionality will get deteriorates, or it will not do the function properly after some time period, okay, and it required some maintenance, okay. But after some time period, the maintenance cost will be overhead than the purchase cost, okay. After some time period, the maintenance cost will be overhead about the purchase cost or the real value of that particular product at that time period, okay. So at that time we think about the replacement of that particular product, or want to sell out that product and want to buy new product, okay. So that thing, okay, removing the product from our home and buying the new product, that is nothing but a replacement analysis, okay, when we should think about the replacement. So that is the important point. Now what are the things we have to consider while dealing with the replacement? First is nothing but how long that particular product will do the functioning, whatever the desired functions will be performed by that particular product without any deterioration of or without any malfunctioning in the product, okay, without any malfunctioning or without any deterioration in that particular product, okay. So but what is happening in the industry, for the some time period the machine will not showcase uh, 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 any malfunctioning or deterioration in the performance. Deterioration means what? जी जो एक समझ लीजिएगा, आप सीएनसी मशीन यूज कर रहे हैं और एक प्रोडक्ट आप बना रहे हैं उस मशीन से, और उस मशीन की से निकलने वाला प्रोडक्ट की एक क्वालिटी मेंटेन रहती है। समझो आपको टॉलरेंस मिलता है 0.1 mm का, ओके, 1 mm की एक्यूरेसी, 0.1 mm की एक्यूरेसी मिल रही है आपको, but after some time period you get the accuracy up to 0.2 mm, okay. After that, after some time period you get the accuracy up to 0.3 mm. So that is nothing but the quality of the product, produced product will get deteriorated, and at that time we try to minimize that errors or try to reduce the tolerance by doing the maintenance, okay, by doing the maintenance. And after some time period the maintenance cost, okay, initially you required to perform the breakdown maintenance or preventive maintenance after every 3 month or 2 month time period, but as the time passes, time period of a maintenance will goes on decreasing, okay, and you need to perform the maintenance after every fortnight, or you need to perform the maintenance after every week, okay. So in that case that cost of a maintenance will goes on increasing, and it will be overhead than the machine cost, okay, than the machine cost. So that at that particular case, at that particular time period, we have to replace the machine with the new machine, okay, we have to replace the machine with the new machine. Here for the industries, they should have the proper replacement policies in the industries, okay. Industries should have the proper replacement policies, so that that policies will be considered as a guideline for the engineers or for the workers for the replacement of any machine, okay, or the equipment, okay. That policies will be considered as a guideline for the replacement of any machine or any equipment, okay. So what are the reasons for this replacement? The first reason is nothing but a higher operating and maintenance cost. That is nothing but you are less reliable, means वो machine की reliability initially ज्यादा होती है, okay. So we can say that जब आपका नया मोबाइल रहेगा, नई बाइक रहेगी, तो आप उस पर ज्यादा भरोसा करते हैं, okay. So I will go to Pune and come back with my bike when the bike is newer one. So after 5 to 6 years, so you'll not have that much faith on your bike, okay. You'll think that in between the tire will be burst, or the engine problem will be come out, okay. So that is the reliability thing, okay. विश्वास आपका कितना है उस मशीन पर, okay. So that is nothing but a reliability. So same thing is applicable in the industrial machineries, okay. Same thing is applicable in the industrial machineries. You are reliable, more reliable when the machine is newer in the industry, and you are less reliable on that particular machine after some time period. Okay, so here is the question of deterioration. Deterioration means it is not, that particular machine is not performing its task with 100% efficiency or the maximum efficiency, or you are not getting the proper quality product from that particular machine. So that is nothing but deterioration. Now here the another part is nothing but a requirement change. Sometimes if your machine is working properly, but the industry trend is going on, and there is a revolution in your sector, industrial sector, and customer wants something new or more quality products from your side, and you want to go for that thing also according to the customer demands. So at that time you have to change your machines, or you have to replace your machine with the new machine, or you have to replace your equipment with the new equipment. So that is nothing but a obsolescence. Okay, that particular technology or that particular machine is obsoleted from the market, okay, for the manufacturing, and the newer technology or the newer type of a machine is entered in the market. So that is nothing but a requirement to change. Okay, then the technology, same thing is applicable for the technology. The new technologies coming in the market every time, every year new things are coming in market with a more accuracy, with a more preciseness in the production, with less reliability on the worker technology or worker performance, or the skills of a worker. So that is another point. And every industry want to do the automation at their workplace, so that the actual interface between the human and the machine will get reduced. Okay, and the less material should be handled by the worker. So that things are there in the industries, and everyone want to perform, or everyone want to increase the degree of automation in their industries. So new technologies having more impact on the replacement analysis. So new technology provides new challenges, and that will insist to the managers, or to the owner to change the technology. At that time you have to think about the replacement. Then financing. Sometimes you don't require the things, new things, but the financial situation in this manner, the bank is providing very attractive loans. Okay, the interest rate on the loans is very much attractive for the financial purpose, or for the purchasing of the new technologies or new machines. So at that time you think about that. If you yes, at the initial stage I did not require these new machines, but in a future when my business is expanding and I need to enhance my capacity, I need to increase my capacity, at that time I required the machine. So that will one kind of a thing for the buying of a new machines. Okay, buying of a new machines and selling of the older machine. So better interest rate will attract the owner to buy the new machines. Okay, and which are the different factors for the replacing equipment? So one is technical factor, where the function is deteriorating, or we are not getting the proper quality of a product produced by that particular machine or equipment. That is one factor. And financial factor is related to the better, we can say that, interest rates provided by the banks or the financial institutes, and that interest rate attracted to the owners or the managers, and at that case you want to perform the replacement analysis and you want to replace the machines. So these two factors are important